Hi everyone, welcome. Today we celebrate the women who build mathematics every day in its many dimensions, in research, in teaching, in outreach, and in the formation of new generations. We also celebrate those who came before us and open paths that we now walk in a more freedom. The truth is that our research field is blessed with role models to inspire us. We know that very well. It is a pleasure to me to introduce my colleague, Professor Bruna Auref Sokomoto, a mathematician whose admirable trajectory as a researcher, teacher, advisor, and collaborator strengthens a generation of women. So, Bruna, thank you very much for accepting our invitation in this special day. And please.
Thank you, Ellie. I'd like to thank you, the organizers of the webinar, for the organization of it, and also to the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. I'm not seeing you guys now, so if you have a question, please open your microphone or Ellen will talk to me in the WhatsApp. Today we celebrate Women in Math. And when I think about my path with the particularities of being a woman and studying math, more specifically singularity theory, I think our path is a little smooth because a very special someone came before and opened the path for us, opened the doors for us. So I'd like to dedicate this presentation to her. This is to Cidinha and to all my women colleagues in singularity theory. So let's go with the math. This is a joint work with Professor Francisco Brown from UFSCar and Professor Felipe Fernandes from University of Distrito Federal. We all know the inverse function theorem. Here I put a particular version which is more fitting for our proposal. So if F is a map from R2 to R2, which is continuous and have all its partial derivatives, and the partial derivatives existing are continuous in all the R2, if the determinant of the Jacobian matrix of F is never zero, then F is locally invertible. So a naive question, I have an example first. For instance, if I have this simple map here, x plus y, x minus y, then in this case, the Jacobian matrix is this one, which has determinant equals 2 minus 2, which is not 0. Then by the inverse function theorem, it's locally invertible at every point in R2. In fact, the inverse of this map here, it's this one. It's a global inverse. So a naive question is F always globally invertible? And if you look at this example, F of xy equals to is exponential of x cosine of y, exponential of x sin of y. We calculate the Jacobian matrix. It's simple, it's this one. And in this case, the determinant of this matrix is this e to the 2x, which is never 0. Then, by the inverse function theorem, F is locally invertible at every point in R2. However, it's not hard to see, it's very easy, that F is not injective. Then if it's not injective, it cannot be globally invertible. So the answer to the naive question is no, it's not. But we can ask still something, on which hypothesis is F globally invertible? And related to it, we have the Jacobian conjecture, which was proposed by Keller in 1939. It says that if the F is a polynomial map from Cn to Cn, whose Jacobian determinant is never zero, then F has a polynomial inverse. Well, that conjecture, it is true if n is equal to 1, and it's still an open question even for n equal to 2. It's a very important problem, and it's the 60th problem in the list of Smale for the problems for this century. And it attracts the interest of many mathematicians. If you put it in Google, you'll see a lot of stuff, some prove that they're wrong, some particular cases. There's a lot of people working on it. But this is not what I'm doing still. We work in nothing that's related to it. It's the real Jacobian conjecture. Our map F is from Rn to Rn, and it's a polynomial map. And the real Jacobian conjecture says that if the Jacobian determinant of F, the Jacobian determinant of F is never zero, then F has a polynomial inverse. It's in fact false. In 1994, Pinchuk constructed a counterexample, a polynomial map from R2 to R2, whose Jacobian determinant is always positive, and F is not injective. So it's not injective, not globally invertible, and the real Jacobian conjecture is false in dimension 2 already. But if we take a look in the Pinchuk's counterexample, it's like this. To understand, we define auxiliary functions. This function t, it's x, y minus 1. This function h, that depends on t and x. And this function f, which depends on t and x again. Pinchuk's counterexample is a polynomial map with coordinate functions p and q, where p is f plus h, and q is something that I didn't even put here. But if you look to the degrees of p and q, the degree of p is equal to 10, and the degree of q is equal to 25. So it's a complicated map. And we can think about, what about the lower degrees? For instance, if the degree of p and the degree of q are equal to 1, then in this case, F is a linear map. It's a matrix times x and y. And if you assume that the Jacobian matrix of F, it's this matrix I, that's this matrix A. And if you assume that the determinant of the Jacobian is not zero, then the determinant of A is not zero, and the A is invertible. That is, I can show the explicit inverse map of F. It's just this one. So the real Jacobian conjecture, it's trivially true if I assume also that the degrees of the coordinates, the degrees of the polynomial, which are the coordinates of the map, are both equals to 1. Well, and what's done until now? In 2001, Godzievsky showed that the real Jacobian conjecture holds if the degree of P and the degree of Q, both the coordinate maps, are less than or equal to 3. Then, in 2010, Brown and Santos Filho, they showed that this is true also if I assume that the degree of P is less than or equal to 3, independent of the degree of Q. In 2016, Brown and myself, we showed that this is true also if the degree of P is less than or equal to 4, independent of Q. Then in 2023, Brown and Fernandes, they exhibit a counterexample with degrees 9 and 15. Degree of P is 9 and degree of Q is 15. And then in 2025, Brown, Fernandes, and myself, we showed that the conjecture holds if the degree of P is less than or equal to 5. So we have the case degree of P is equal to 6, 7, and 8 to ask still. Today I will show you guys how we did this 2016 work and this 2025 work. Well, so how did we do with the degree less than or equal to 4 case? First, we just look to one coordinate of the map, just to P. Then my P is a degree 4 polynomial that I can always write in this way. N polynomial of degree 3 plus a homogeneous polynomial of degree 4. Then I have to decide if this polynomial P here have a Q which is a pair of it with whose the Jacobian determinant of the map correspondent is not 0, and in this case, if the map is injective or not. And we had these cases to consider. So P3 is anything here, and the H, the degree 4 polynomial, could be those. I'm lying a little bit here because there are some restrictions in these parameters that I was lazy to show you guys, but it's a lot of polynomials. This is what I want to say. So what did we do? The first step is we discard all the polynomials which are not submersions. Because if P is not submersion, then one line of the Jacobian matrix of the map F, it's 0, and so the determinant is equal to 0. And how do we did it? By using resultants. And what's that? So we have this result here. Now, for a moment, I consider polynomials in just one variable. So let F and G be polynomials in one variable that I called here X. If F and G have exactly K common roots, here I'm counting the multiplicities, if and only if the resultants until the K minus 1 of F and G are equal to 0, and the K1 is not 0. But this was for one variable. So what we did was to develop tools to apply this lemma in the partial derivatives of P. So my F here is the partial derivative of P with respect to X, and my G is the partial derivative of P with respect to Y. These are polynomials in X and Y. So I just treat it as polynomials in one of the variable with coefficients are functions in the other one. And with these tools, we could discard all the polynomials in the first case. All that polynomials are not submersions. Well, but there was 5 cases, so I have to think in the other, in all the other. And then there is this result here that says that if the determinant of the Jacobian matrix is higher than 0, then my map is injective if and only if all the level sets of one of the coordinate functions of this polynomial f is connected. All the level sets are connected. So we can discard from our list the polynomials whose level sets are all connected. I'm just looking for, if I'm looking for a counterexample, I'm just looking for polynomials with at least one non-connected level set. But how we did this? We use another tool, which is the Newton polygon of a polynomial. So if a polynomial P is written in this way, here, of course, aij are not zero for a finite numbers, a finite amount of ij's. Then the Newton polygon of P is the convex hull of the support of the polynomial. What's the support? The support is the points ij in Z2, such that ij appears here not being zero. For instance, I have this polynomial P here. Here I have x3, that's x to 3, y to 0, then 3, 0 belongs to the support, I put it here, 3, 0. Then 2, 1, 1, 2, 0, 3, 0, 2, 2, 0, and 0, 0. So the red dots are the support. The convex hull of it is this triangle here. Well, given a Newton polygon of a polynomial P, I say that a face of it is an outer face if it's an outward normal vector AB has at least one positive coordinate. And for each face S of my polygon, I consider the polynomial PS, that is kind of the restriction of P to the points in the face S. I just pick the part of the polynomial, the factors of the polynomials, so that these exponents here belong to the face S. And in this case, it's a weighted homogeneous polynomial that admits a factorization of this form here. A number delta times these monomials, x to r, y to s, and a product of factors in this way, y to a minus kcj, x to b, to nu j. These a and b are the coordinates of the normal vector. And these xj are all distinct. In this case, with this factorization, we say that P is non-degenerate on S if all these nu j that appears here are equal to 1. There's a lot of definitions, so I put an example. We consider this polynomial here. Then I put here the Newton polygon of it. Let's see. 1, 0, 0, 0 is here. 4, 0 is here. 2, 0, 2 is here. 2, 3 is here. 1, 4 here. 0, 5 here. Then I take the convex hull of the red dots, and I have this polygon here. I will see this face S and this face T here. So S has normal vector 1, 1, and PS, I just consider the monomials whose coefficients appear here. So it's the y to the 5, then here xy to the 4, it appears with a 2, and this is x2y to the 3. If I make the torque decomposition of it, it's y3 times y plus x to the 2. The nu that appeared here, there is 2 here. Then P is degenerate on S, it's not non-degenerate on S. But if I consider the face T, the normal vector is 3, 2, and PT is this one. I put the x2 here. This is y to the 3 plus x2 to 1 here. I didn't put here, it's the 1. Then P is non-degenerate on T. Okay? Guys?
Yes, Bruna, we are here.
Are you
Everything
listening
is
to me?
okay.
It's okay?
Yes, we are.
Sorry. Another definition, I say that the P is convenient if the Newton polygonal intersects both the coordinate x away from the origin. And without this definition, I have this lemma, which is a corollary of results from 10 and Oak and Diaz and Chen, that if P is a convenient polynomial, which is a submersion, if P is non-degenerate on every outer face of its Newton polygonal, then all the level sets of P are connected. Then, you guys remember, I have to discard the polynomials with only connected on level sets. I apply this lemma to the 5 we had before, and we have this. In case 2, if the polynomial is a submersion, it have just connected level sets, so I just throw them out. In the cases 3, 4, and 5, the polynomials which can be submersions and admit not connected on level sets are equivalent to one of those that appear here. There's this 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we have to work with these polynomials to conclude if it is or is not a counterexample to the real Jacobian conjecture. And we start now to look to the other coordinate of the map. Which Q can I put here? I should have done it before, but okay, it's now. I say that Q is a Jacobian mate for P if the determinant of the Jacobian of the map defined by P and Q is never 0. And we prove that none of those 4 polynomials admits a Jacobian mate. But how? We use half-read components. It's just an idea here. Let H0 be this function here, xy to x times y. And let B this almost the triangle here, but not the 0. Okay? And here the set A, it's a part of the plane that is stacked here, the foliation defined by the connected components of the level sets of P. So if I have something like this, I have a homeomorphism here between the B, the triangle, and T, which is a topological equivalence between the fibrations. Let's take the leaves here to the leaves here, such that this part here goes to a transversal section of the leaf, the foliation of F out of T of 1, 1. And this segments here go to full half-leaves of FF, then A is what I call the half-rib component of my polynomial B. And there is this theorem from Santos Filho and Brown from 2010, and a more specific case from myself and Brown from 2016, that says that if H is a measurable function such that the integral of H over a half-rib component of P is infinite, then there is not a differentiable function Q such that the determinant of the Jacobian matrix of PQ is never 0. It means then there's not a Q such that it's a Jacobian mate of P. Then we apply this theorem to the 4 remaining polynomials to conclude that none of them has Jacobian mates. And this concludes the proof that the real Jacobian conjecture is true if you assume that one of those polynomials, one of the coordinate polynomials, has degree less than or equal to 4. And this was 2016, and we start to think about what if the degree of P is equal to 5? Well, then remember that result that F is injective, assuming that the determinant of the Jacobian matrix is never 0, if and only if the level sets of P are connected. And also, we showed this lemma that if P is a submersion with its connected level sets, then the homogeneous part of P with higher degree have a linear factors of multiplicity at least 2. Then for us, my polynomial now has degree 5. Then it is any polynomial of degree 4 plus a polynomial 8, which is homogeneous of degree 5. But not all the polynomials 8 here. I can assume that this 8 has a linear factor with multiplicity at least 2. And the possible 8 are those. Just 10 plus the parameters that appear here, and all the polynomials P4, P of degree 4, that we can sum it up in n of them, adding n of them. This was what we had to do, and we start to develop tools to work on these polynomials. So one important thing is to know how to count the connected components of a fiber of the polynomial. So we wrote our polynomials in this way, as a polynomial in X with coefficients, polynomials in Y. So I assume this is a polynomial submersion. And I calculate the discriminant of the polynomial P of xy minus c, for the c that I'm trying to study the level. So I calculate the discriminant of this polynomial. It is a polynomial now in y with coefficients functions on c. And we start to study this, and we have this result here that if in an interval, it's an interval of the R. And in this interval, the polynomial P does not change the degree. This an of y aqui is never 0. And the polynomial delta just does not change the degree either. This bk of c is never 0. Then the NC is constant in it. This NC here is the number of connected components of P minus 1 of C. So if it is always 1, I can throw away. But I'm trying to develop tools to know this, that it's always 1. If this happens, if the discriminant does not change the degree, then NC is constant only. And also we prove this result here. We partitionate the R line in these intervals here, divided by this Ci here, this Cj. Such that in each of these intervals delimited by Ca, the function number of connected components of P minus 1 of C is constant. And we choose one number in each of this interval that we call dj. And we show that if we sum the number of connected components of p minus 1 of dj for j from 0 to n, it's equal to 1 plus the number of connected components of p minus 1 of cj for those cj's there. And what's important here is the corollary. Then, if n stays constant, because of this, it has to be constant equals to 1. What's very important for us, this constant equals to 1, because then I can not work with this polynomial anymore. And also we conclude that b of p is equal to the empty set, but I didn't say what's b of p. What's b of p? B of p is the set of the bifurcation values of p. What's the bifurcation value? I say that c is a bifurcation value of p if the p is not a locally trivial vibration at c. And also, this set b of p, the bifurcation values of polynomial, there is it's very important. There are a lot of people working on this. And with our results, we can calculate when a thing is not on b of p. If, let me show guys again, if the polynomial is in this way, and this thing is not 0, is always equals to 1, then the bifurcation values of p are contained in the 0 of this pk here, which appears in the discriminant of the polynomial p. Well, but okay, how do we do? How do you know if p has a Jacobian mate or not? There's this proposition. If C0 is the only bifurcation value of p, then each connected component of p minus 1 of C0 is inseparable with another one. Again, I didn't say what's inseparable. Okay, just an idea. Here, there is a half-rib component of an example. This black here are inseparable because if I take small sections transversal here and here, I always can have a leaf that pass by those sections, okay? They are really inseparable by the lines, the leaves of the foliation. Well, then, coming back, if there is just one bifurcation value, each connected component of p minus 1 of this value is inseparable with another one. And then there was this very beautiful result of Wodziewski that helped us a lot. If I have a ref-rib component, and if gamma is a non-constant polynomial curve such that gamma of t is in the half-rib component for all t higher than 0, then p has no Jacobian mates. Then we applied this result also to our polynomials, and we could discard some more of those 10 polynomials that we had before. But this was not enough. We couldn't finish the work with this. And then Philippe came with this idea to study the Hamilton, the existence or not of a Jacobian mate by looking to the Hamiltonian vector field of p at the infinity. And then you consider the Hamilton vector field of p, the leaves of the orbs are the leaves of p minus 1 of c, of the foliation defined by p. Okay? And we look for the Poincare compactification of this vector field. If it has something like this, what's this? This draw here. If there are the curves here, gamma 1, gamma 2, such that there is a hyperbolic sector, this H1, H2 that I draw here, such that gamma 1 and gamma 2 limited H1, gamma 2 and gamma 3 limited H3, H2, and go on. If Z1 is the omega limit, it's the omega limit of gamma 1 and alpha limit of gamma 2, and Z2 of gamma, it's where gamma 2 ends and where gamma 3 starts, and this way. In this case, if there is an algebraic curve that I draw here, Francisco draw here in red, that enters in the first hyperbolic sectors and in the last hyperbolic sector, and this Z1 and Z5 are the same point in the infinite, they are antipoda here, then P has no Jacobian mates. And with this, we could show that all those polynomials that you had before have no Jacobian mates, and we are done with the case 5. Here is the papers I cited. Here, this first one is where is the Brown and Fernandes counterexample. This one is where we did the degree 4 case. This is where Brown and Santos Filho did the degree 3. The paper of Godziewski where degree 3 and degree 3 case, where is the Jacobian conjecture, the Pinchuk's counterexample. And I'm sorry I didn't put the paper where we did the degree 5 case. So that's it. Thank you.